And here we are back again for another Trey's edition of Trey's Chow Down Live. Oh, I forgot my own name there for a minute. I looked at this paper to read what I was going to start reading about hot topics. Forgot my own name. That's terrible, isn't it? All right, we got some hot topics. We're here with Jonathan from Jonathan's Diner and Christine with Jonathan's Diner. They're married, obviously. But we'll get to them in a second. We're going to get to hot topics first. So this weekend, no, not this weekend, right after this weekend, the 27th, which is going to be Monday, the new Wicked Butcher opens up in Fort Worth. I love that name, Wicked Butcher.
That's a good name.
That's a great name.
That's a good name.
It's a DRG concept. Of course, that's Marriott money on top of that Marriott down there, but it's a great name. I love it. First time I saw the name, I thought, what a great name.
Yeah, that is really good.
It's just and it's in the old Sinclair Hotel, and I'm gonna see it for the first time. They're serving my birthday dinner to me Saturday night down there, so it's
cool.
it's gonna be neat. Fairings, like I talked about, Fairings has got a lot of new desserts and sweets they're doing, and they're just absolutely phenomenal. If y'all are looking for some cool sweets in Dallas and you want to go to the Ritz, then look up Fairings page, look up Ritz-Carlton. Attic opened up in Fort Worth on top of the Spring Hill Suites, which is owned by Marriott. That's Tim Love's new concept, and it's all small plates, all shareables, tapas, just some caviar, all kinds of crazy stuff there.
Right.
But it's on top of that. I think it's going to do well.
Awesome.
Wishbone Foot opened up in Fort Worth, and it is doing phenomenal. I went over there for brunch. He's definitely got a great brunch menu, and he's got one of the best hamburgers. He's got a fantastic hamburger. And also, too, he opened up the Amber Room. The Amber Room is more of a speakeasy, old school, 1950s. It's really neat. You got to walk through curtains to get there.
That's cool.
It's real eclectic. They put all these fantastic old chairs.
Like Prohibition era.
Yeah, Prohibition era, but
and all that stuff.
they don't have the only one of everything. So you got one. All the chairs are all different.
That's cool.
Nice.
Tables are all. It's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great
Cool.
concept.
Nice.
So Wishbone Flint and Fort Worth, check it out. All right. Okay. So now we're going to get down to Jonathan's Diner. Jonathan and Christine. Okay. Guys, thanks for coming in. I really appreciate it.
Anytime.
Thank you.
I just dumped that there in the floor.
That's cool. We appreciate you being a fan.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You know I am. We had a good time. We were at our ABC special. That was fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Did you like that?
That was a good time, man. Other than having to be there at 4:30 in the morning.
I know. Yeah.
You know,
Bright and early.
but I mean, we do breakfast, so it was just like having everything ready and getting to you, and not knowing kind of what we were walking into, and then having Maple Leaf Diner next to us, and they brought like their entire restaurant staff and like hundreds of things, and we came in with like a you know.
I saw you.
I'm like.
Well, first of all, you're the last one to get there.
But I was the first one to leave.
Yeah, that's right. You were. Yeah, you were.
First one set up, last one in. You know, but that's how we roll. So
that's funny. Okay, so where are you from originally?
Okay, I consider myself a Houstonian. I was born. My family is from West Virginia.
Right.
I was born in a small town in Illinois called Pinckneyville, Illinois. My dad was in the mining industry, so the early part of my childhood was spent up that area. We moved to Houston when I was like 3 years old, and I pretty much born and raised in Sugarland.
That's a big culinary world down there in Houston.
Yeah, I say that is probably the biggest influence on my style.
Sure.
I like to tell people when they ask me like really what it comes down to, I say I have a lot of Gulf Coast influences in me. I do. There's a lot of kind of Creole in the way I cook. There's that kind of country home style thing going on, but I think it all really materializes from growing up in Houston and eating, a lot of seafood, a lot of Creole, a lot of Mexican food, a lot of Tex-Mex.
Well,
so,
I would have used to told you 10 years ago. I would have said they have more seafood down there than we do here. But now, I think Dallas-Fort Worth North Texas is becoming one of the biggest culinary markets in the world, actually.
Oh, absolutely. And then, it's also, 10, 15 years ago, it's hard to believe this, but it's still difficult to get a lot of that product to Dallas-Fort Worth.
It was.
Whereas like now, I could order fish from Japan and have it tomorrow if I really wanted it. That could happen. You know? So,
and you want to pay for it.
Exactly.
So you lived in Houston. So what was your favorite when you were growing up? Was there a catalyst or a one major thing that got you involved in cooking?
Fried shrimp. Fried shrimp, man. When I was a kid, I was born in 76, so I'm 43 now. And when I was a kid, Red Lobster was totally different than Red Lobster is now.
Yeah.
Like I remember Red Lobster being like white tablecloth, and that's where you went for like Mother's Day, birthdays.
2-3 times a year.
Oh yeah. And it was like our spot. So as a kid, we would go to Red Lobster, and I tell people this all the time. The first food that I fell in love with, that I knew like food was my thing, was fried shrimp and cocktail sauce. I mean, to this day, I could can throw down on some fried shrimp and cocktail sauce. It doesn't matter. But yeah, and that kind of started
shrimp.
Yeah, I mean, and that kind of started it for me. That was the first like memory, and then the next thing I remember that like blew my mind with food was when the day. This is funny. Taco Bell, when they debuted their Mexican pizza, I remember it just happened to line up, and it was like one of those nights that we went out to dinner as a family, and I literally was in Taco Bell the first day that the Mexican pizza was on the menu, and me and my two brothers had Mexican pizzas, and it's a quesadilla with flour tortillas, but something magical about that, man. And I was like, boom.
Well, you know what? Here's what's funny. Red Lobster's changed, and so has Taco Bell.
Yeah, exactly.
When Taco Bell opened up, because my dad, we started a concept called Taco Plaza. Mm-hmm. And when we started Taco Plaza, Taco Bell was still pretty much an MC, and there was pretty much the same type food. And even though we only had like 15, 20 units, it still went on to stay that way. But Taco Bell, as they got bigger, the food got more commercialized and got less flavorful and all that stuff.
And that's kind of like, and I think that's what really motivated us when we opened Jonathon's, because like I said, I grew up in a time when you went out, like you did something with your family, whether it was like it was like after church on a Sunday, you went to TGI Fridays for brunch. I don't know if people remember, but TGI Fridays was the shit. It was. Seriously, chicken mushroom chicken.
It was 20 years ago even.
Their Benedict, like all of I remember going into TGI Fridays and being blown away by like the decor.
Their alcohol, the cocktails.
The servers, the cocktails, the virgin cocktails for like, I'm 9 years old and I'm drinking like a margarita.
Yeah, they had a strawberry virgin too.
Yeah, the strawberry daiquiris, like the virgin daiquiris. Yeah. Oh man, I grew up in a time where like a lot of these concepts that people see today and kind of joke about, or they just say like they used to make all their food from scratch in those restaurants.
Those concepts brought us to where we are today.
Right.
And because people are younger, and because this is what I tell everybody, this is what I love about your concept at Jonathon's, is that all those concepts brought us to where we are today, made the Culinary Award, which is what it is today, because they all had, at that time, even though they were getting bigger, they had money to try new things and start getting people in the culinary thing and the culinary scene, making food the rock star, and the chefs, and so that's where we are. And now those places don't get any love. Everybody wants to go to the newest restaurant. I told you, a restaurant a day opening, a damn restaurant a day in North Texas.
Yeah,
so people always go for the new thing, but in my travels, what I do is, this, I do it all. I like to do the old places, the new places, and the places that have been around for just 5 years. And I think it's important to have if you're going to be a food guy, to be very well rounded, not just go for the newest thing. Right.
I mean it's very true. It's like it reminds you. Like I said, for me, it always I always go back. Like my chicken fried steak. The first time I made that chicken fried steak was my first day at this little hole in the wall called the Brazos Bottom Bar and Grill out in Crab, Texas, right outside of Sugar Land. I was in high school. I was a sophomore in high school. I went on a band trip to Disney World, right?
Okay.
With the high school band. I played trumpet. And
you did?
When I was at Disney World on this band trip, my parents, we had just moved out to this new neighborhood. And
that was far out that time.
Sugar Land.
Now it's all one.
It would be like moving to Frisco in 94. Like you were like
farmland.
Yeah, exactly.
There used to be a gap, and now there's no gap.
I mean, my parents' house is built on swampland. You know what I mean? That was, and so, so I go out there, and they go out to dinner at this little honky tonk down the street from the house. And while I'm on this band trip, when I get back, they said, "Hey, while you were gone, we got you a job." And I was like, okay. I mean, I've never been one to shy away from work. I had a lawn service. I was already mowing lawns and doing different things like that. So I was like, cool, where? And
how old were you?
Oh, I was like 15, 16 years old.
You could work at that time back then.
Dude, I started mowing lawns when I was 9 years old with my older brother. I would mow the backyard. I would weed eat the backyard and sweep up, and I got $5 a lawn. And then when he got a job at McDonald's, I took over the lawn service. And I had like 5 lawns. And then my dad would let me use their lawnmower and his weed eater and his blower. And I have like a bungee cord and everything strapped together. And I walked down the street, and after a while, I had 13 lawns.
We did that too.
Dude, I was the only kid in the neighborhood had $1,200 bike that I paid for. You know what I mean? So
why am I not surprised?
So they got you the job.
Yeah, and so I go in there, and like my first day, I start working, and it's this lady Claire, and Claire's the owner, and her husband Chip is actually a sailboat captain, and he did charters out of Clear Lake.
Okay,
and so he wasn't there at the time; he was on a trip. So Claire brings me in there, and she makes me a busboy. So I start working. I'm bussing tables, doing everything I'm supposed to do, blah, blah, blah. Well, Chip comes back from his trip 2 weeks later, and I'm bussing tables. He walks in. First thing he says, who the hell is this guy? Like, that's Jonathon. He's a new busboy. We love him. He's doing everything. He's so great. And he's like, why the hell isn't he washing dishes? And they were like, well, he's the busboy. And he's like, no. Chip's rule was anybody that worked for him, no matter what the job was, your first 2 weeks, you wash dishes. Because you needed to understand that was the shittiest job in the restaurant that demanded the most respect.
There's nothing wrong with ground up philosophy.
It's my favorite thing to do. There's a lot of times people walk in Jonathon's and they'll see me back there washing dishes because nobody bothers me.
Keith Button Hicks, man. You know, my friend Keith Button Hicks has been on all those TV shows for his thing, him and I laugh. He's the first time he hires somebody, come here, I got a station I want to show you. It's always back to the dishwasher.
Yeah.
And so
you learn a lot about people's character that way, too.
Yeah. Well, you find out about somebody real quick.
Yeah.
Right. What are you willing to do?
That's right.
Like,
how far are you willing to go?
Yeah. Where are we taking
How bad you want this job, baby? That's
I'll
right.
wash dishes. Everyone should be able to wash dishes, and I do.
Well, and that's the other thing too. Like, I tell all my employees, I would never ask you to do anything that I'm not willing to do myself.
Right.
And more than likely, you'll see me do it at least once. But if I didn't like doing it, I'm probably going to have you do it from now on.
Yeah.
Like, I don't hire people. I hire people to take away work from me. At this stage in my life, like that, like when we first opened the restaurant, it was like you hire people to take things off of your plate.
Right.
I tell my employees that all the time. Like, I'm not here. You're not here because I can't do it. You're here because I don't want to do it.
That's right.
You know, and I mean that in the nicest way possible.
Yeah.
But it's just the reality of my business. Either. Yeah. I mean, I got a honey-do list this long. I need you to just like work the egg station today.
Yeah. So he got you back on dishes. And
so I just fell in love with it. I mean, it was just instantly like I loved the fact that I could go back there, I have a big pile of something, I could clean it all, put it all away, and I was done. And so I was just kind of finding my groove in the kitchen. And then there was these two older dudes. One was named Jose, and the other name was Andy. And Andy was like Australian. He was like the Australian, and he was like this little like Yoda looking dude. And he was just like awesome. Like I remember he showed me how to break down like we did the craziest things in this place. It's like this little kitchen that's like this is like twice the size of this kitchen. And we're breaking down like whole like strip loins into New York strips. We're bringing in like ribeye, like whole prime ribs and breaking them down to ribeyes. We butchered everything there, and Andy did all this stuff, and he would be butchering meat and just like throwing little chunks of raw meat in his mouth to try the meat and all that. So I was like, this guy's crazy, you know. And then like
he was passionate.
Yeah, he was Andy, you know. I mean, he was just he was Yoda, you know. And then there was like this other guy, Jose, that worked in the kitchen and was a cook. And me and Jose always picked on me because I was a little kid washing dishes, and he was the old drunk cook, you know. And he just like throw butter at me or something. So like one night he like threw like a handful of butter at me, and it like hit me on my side, and I kind of grabbed it and I threw it back at him because I had snapped. Like I was like
you'd had it.
I hit this guy right in the face, and he came at me, and so like I'm like 15-year-old kid, you know, 35-year-old drunk cook coming at me. So we got in a little squabble, and he was terminated. And they looked at me and they were like, "So you know how to cook?" And I was like, "Well, I guess." And so they put me, and they didn't tell me that I was also gonna have to wash all the dishes.
At the same time, you just promoted to two jobs.
So I just kind of happened, and then I loved it, you know. And so here I was in high school, going to school all day, and I'd get off school and I'd get on my bike and I'd ride up to the restaurant and I'd work at night, and that's
how you developed chicken fried steak.
Well, the thing was, that's how they did it.
That's where that crust came from.
Okay.
I walked in there and they were like, "Okay, here you go. We need you to make chicken fried steaks." It's like 9 o'clock in the morning. I got a big old thing of top round that's been tenderized, and they pull out this bin and they're like, "Okay, set up flour, buttermilk," and then they open up this bin and it's just like saltine crackers, just broken.
Yeah.
And so they were like, you got a 8-ounce piece of chug, and they you flour, and they said, "Now don't stop beating on it until it's
flat,
doubled in size."
Right.
So
that was
flour, buttermilk, flour, back to the cracker, and then you just start pounding it, and it's the saltine crackers, and it gets nice and crunchy, and so when we opened the restaurant, it was like, "How are we gonna do our chicken fried steak?" I was like, "Boom, just like this." And I'd worked at other places, and I've always known how to do a chicken fried steak like this, but I always did it the way other people wanted me to do it. With this one, kind of like in my back pocket, because I've always felt like I had a great chicken fried steak.
Well,
it's Texas, and anytime
you gotta have that,
or anytime someone legitimizes your chicken fried steak in Texas too, it's like, I always think like, A lot of people come to. We're Dallas, so we get a lot of tourists too. We're really, we're
You're
fortunate.
Dallas, but you're not. I consider you kind of in between because you can get right off the freeway before downtown, and you're right there.
Right,
so.
and there's a lot of places like, you got Love Field. People that are in Arlington, we're not too far from
you're not
Arlington.
far. No.
So we're in Oak Cliff is a really good spot in that regard, and
all the new roads is fantastic now.
it's getting
It
a lot
really
better.
is.
It really is. From like we used to laugh, we used to get lost going out there. Now we're just like, how do we get lost going out here? But
So when did you move to Fort Worth? I'm sorry, when did you move to Metroplex?
I moved to Dallas in '98.
Okay.
I think it was '98 because in '98, Christine's born and raised Dallas.
So was that? So I was just. My next question was: you moved to when did y'all meet, and how'd you meet?
We met in 2000
2000
at a restaurant we were both working at. I just graduated from college.
Wait, Mondo's?
At
It was called
Mondo's.
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 Yeah, it was
Across
over
from the
by the
Galleria.
Galleria, right across the street.
Trying to
It was a
think.
company. They were from Iowa. The way I got involved with that company was I was working at Rainforest Cafe,
Oh yeah.
and one of the managers at Rainforest Cafe somehow got involved with this company. I think because literally it was like a sister lived next to the door to the owner of this restaurant in Iowa called Mondo's, and it was owned by this brother and sister team, Jim Mondanero and Gina Mondanero, and they had like 7 restaurants in Iowa, and each one was like a different concept. They had
And
like
they skipped Iowa to move to
well,
Dallas.
what happened was
Yeah.
they put them all together into one concept, and it was kind of like at the time when there was a lot of the entertainment going on,
Yeah.
all of a sudden they had this restaurant that was like 7 different restaurants in Des Moines. Now, Des Moines, you've been to Des Moines,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Okay, there's not much to do
No,
in Des Moines
there's not.
except like drink alcohol
Yeah.
and go out to eat.
I
and
might
then-
go look at cattle.
Yeah,
outside.
Right.
I mean, they sell booze till 3 o'clock in the morning at
Yeah.
the grocery stores in
Yeah.
Des Moines. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it is what it is. But so I met this guy at Rainforest, and he got this job at Mondo's, and they were recruiting, and he had thought of me, and so I interviewed with the family, and they really liked me, and so they offered me a job, sent me to Des Moines to train while they were building this unit in Dallas. And what I
Winter or
learned
summer?
It was winter. It was right at the edge. It was right before. It was the start of winter, right before it got really bad.
Yeah,
Because
get
they
you
kept
some of
saying,
that. Get you some of that.
everyone kept saying like, "You guys don't even know." And we're like, they're like, "Y'all are lucky. Y'all are going to probably be out of here before." And they're like, "Man, we have blizzards." And I'm like, "Yeah, that means you just sit around, right?" And they're like, "No,
No.
not here. Nothing stops with the blizzard.
No, yeah.
We keep working. You just
Yeah.
find a way to get here." I was like, "Oh, that's not Dallas." When it gets cold in Dallas, hell, it gets to like 42, and we start thinking about staying home. It's like it's a good day to relax.
Unless you own a restaurant.
Unless you own a restaurant.
Yeah.
So
All right, so I got you sidetracked. So you did Mondo's.
yeah,
Or
so
talking about Mondo's.
I'm working at Mondo's, and I'm the sous chef there, and having it was a great place too. Learned a lot. It was very hands on. They did a lot of internships with CIA and stuff,
Sure.
and the chef that was their corporate chef was really big into all that stuff, and so it's very structured. It was a very good experience
Sure.
for me, and
But see, everything you did up until you opened up Jonathan's, which we're going to get to in a minute, was just experience for you.
oh, absolutely. My whole life, once I got into this world and I realized that I could be successful, not have to really educate myself too much, other than like learn things and
Right.
but I could still, I didn't have, you can do really great things in this business without a lot of rules.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're good at what you do and you're a good person and you execute properly. So for me it was really appealing, and also I'm very artistic. I love, I'm a right brain guy. I was always when I was a kid growing up, I always
Let's go back to how we met, though.
oh yeah, back how we met. This is why I'm married to her.
I know.
So-
I was 21 working as a server and a bartender.
Yeah, and
It
I
was
was
our
a
first
sous chef.
experience working together. So it really kind of started the next 20 years of our life together, working together. 'Cause
Okay.
we pretty much worked together for the most part for the last 20 years.
Yeah, I mean,
we haven't been apart much.
Like I said, it was my day off, and she started, and all of my cooks. I remember I came back. It was a Wednesday. I came back to work on Thursday, and all the cooks were like, "Chef, you got to see the new girl." And I was like, "Just another girl, guys. It's all good." And she came in, and I saw her, and I was like, "Oh wow, that's the new girl, huh?" And we
Was
were
this at
working.
Mondo's?
This is
Yeah.
at Mondo's.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
this
Mondo's-
was I was taking a second summer job.
she was working at
essentially.
Nordstrom across the street,
So I
and all the
started grad
managers
school
had
in
the
the
hots
fall.
for her, and they would all the managers would
Hung
go
out
over
with
there
me
and
at the
drink
bar
in
at
between
Nordstrom,
shifts.
so-
So Nordstrom's used to have a bar at the Galleria.
in the men's
They
department.
do in Houston still, I think.
They
Yeah,
do.
They
I was a
served
manager
alcohol
for
there
Nordstrom.
again. Yeah, that was
I
her
spent
thing.
7 years with Nordstrom in their restaurant management program. So
And so they would all go over to Nordstrom and drink in between shifts. And there was this bartender there they all had the hots for. So they got her to come over as a part-time employee. And then I won.
You won. That's good.
Can't ever be the guy that can cook, man. I don't care who you are.
Funny.
You
We
be
got
fat and
engaged
ugly as
that
you
November.
want,
I
but-
started there in June,
Yeah,
and then we got engaged in November. and We got married in June. So
y'all got married. What year did the first? Now, I've always called them both Jonathans.
Right.
yeah, that's
But Jonathan's Diner is the small one that I first went into, right?
Jonathan's Oak Cliff is the
Oak
original.
Cliff, the house.
That's
Correct,
the little
the
house.
small
That's
house.
Jonathan's Oak Cliff.
That was my
the original, as a lot of people
so
call it.
cozy. The whole
Yeah.
concept.
Oh, we loved it.
So what year did y'all? What year was that one?
May of 2011 is when that one
Okay.
opened.
Yeah.
So not that long ago, really.
No.
10 years next year.
Yeah.
So
A decade. So that started then. And how did it start? Was when you first started? What was the thing you were focused on the most when you first started that place?
getting out of breadwinners. No, no, it was
we were
about
trying to get out on our
no, we
own.
were
We
really
wanted
trying to be, like I said, when we got married, and I mean, we're both very focused, driven people. You know, we've always had careers, and we knew pretty quickly that that owning a restaurant was something that we both wanted to do, and that we thought that we could do together, and that it was something we thought we could make a life out of, you know, between the two of us. And so once we got Jonathon's opened, and we went in there with the thought that it was just gonna be a cool neighborhood place where people were gonna hang out.
Yeah.
We went
That's
to
what we
Oak
wanted,
Cliff.
was a neighborhood hangout.
Yeah,
Which it became really fast.
When was that house built? It's old. It's really old.
It is.
We just recently had a bunch of foundation work done on it, and
think it goes back
the
to a
guy,
military-
the guy that did it was really cool. He had a
military
lot of
housing?
knowledge. They believe that it's originally a 1900 Fort Worth Air Force base.
It was moved
base
over
house.
there.
He
Yeah.
said around 1919,
He said they
between
moved a bunch of
1919
them
and
over there.
1939, basically Oak Cliff and Lakewood were developed off of a lot of these houses from Fort Worth, the
Yeah.
Air Force base, that were moved.
Moved them over.
Yeah, and so this is one of those houses. It was an old craftsman style home.
That's one of the reasons I liked when I first walked in. It was very cozy.
Yeah.
It looked like early 1900s to me. I thought it was,
Yeah.
it was really neat.
And
Yeah.
it's like
It
old
brings a lot of
craftsmen.
challenges, though,
and
too.
for us,
Yeah.
it was tons of challenges. But like for us, like
Still
we
is.
walked in there, big eyes, and we found a couple scrap yards, and we were pulling, like, all those cabinets are all individually pieced, and me and my buddies put all those up. I mean, Jonathan's was a labor of love without a doubt. It was us and about 6 friends. And it was just like we were there for, like, we were still
we would
working.
work all day at Breadwinners and then leave and then go, because we had it timed out where literally we had to open within a certain number of days once we gave our notice at
Yeah,
Breadwinners.
we're not those kind of people that, like, oh, we're gonna open a restaurant. Quit your job, quit everything. Let's go. You know.
That doesn't work. You got to have cash to do that,
well,
right?
Yeah, you
and,
do.
and if you're not
Well, I didn't wanna
independently
run
wealthy
out,
or
'cause I mean-
Marriott,
Our
mean,
Ritz.
yeah, the Ritz, you just have to, you have to make do, and that's what we did. We borrowed money from lenders, and we kind of, we got a Discover card to remodel our kitchen, and we were like, yeah, we're going to remodel
But
the
see,
kitchen.
that makes for a great story for you. It
Oh.
makes for a great.
Oh,
I
how
love.
we pieced it together, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I love food. Always tastes better for. My biggest thing is food tastes better with a story. No matter what page you go on my website or whatever you do, that's what I say.
Right.
And that makes for a great story. How you kept your job, how you found the old house, and how you started, and how it all came about. So how long were you working? How long was John's open before you quit Breadwinners?
Oh, we did not have both. We weren't doing both.
Okay.
It was about,
Because
what,
I would-
6 weeks maybe? I mean,
Yeah.
it was pretty tight. I mean, it was
We
go
pushed
time.
it as far as we could, and
They asked us to give us 3 weeks too at
Yeah, that was
Breadwinners
the thing,
because
like,
we worked at the same restaurant at the same location together.
She was,
And I was
that was the thing. We were a tag team. What happened was she was in
Dining room
Nordstrom.
manager,
She was
yeah.
in Nordstrom's restaurant division, and she was running up the corporate ladder. And we had an employee at Breadwinners that was running our catering department. That she met a guy, and she was going to move to Austin. And so the owners approached us. They said, "How would you feel about working with Christine?" And we had always worked together. We met in the same restaurant together and all that stuff. So we weren't opposed to it all. And we said,
I was
what-
waiting tables on and off at that point already.
Yeah, and she was starting to fill in a little bit. Like, she was picking up shifts here and there, just
Right.
because, like, that's just the way we've always done it. We always
Yeah.
found a way to work
Well, I was
together
trying
a
to
little
change
bit.
my career at Nordstrom to be a store manager.
You were just
so-
trying to watch her, trying to keep an eye on
I
her.
tell people I'm not that guy at all, bro. It's like, look, I know where she comes home to.
I can handle what I
It's like, if you want her,
I can handle myself.
because I know it's a full-time job to be married. You know what I mean? So,
Well, then there are humorous moments. We've had a couple times where he's like, you can just tell he's about to come flying through the kitchen
Yeah,
window,
there
and
is
I'm like,
that too.
I got this. I can handle it.
Do y'all ever have any meltdowns in the restaurant?
Oh yeah.
yeah, we've gotten better over the years. Initially,
When we first opened, it's a lot more stress. We've been
it's
doing this so
stressful.
many years, but we've had a few snippings.
A restaurant environment is one of the most stressful environments you're going to find.
Yes.
And then you throw on top of opening up a restaurant, and then you throw on top of the
financial obligation. It's like for us,
you're married and you go home together. That's a huge, and you're still married today.
And a lot of times we ride in the same car together.
And you ride in the same. Yeah,
so it's like I can't escape her.
When you came to my ABC show, you were riding the same car.
We always drive the same car when we go to events like this. Now, a lot of times, like during our normal work week, there's a lot of days where I might go in early because I got to open the place. I do all the baking and stuff.
I don't
got to
rise
get
as
in.
early as you do.
She there's a lot of nights where it's like, are you going into work with me tomorrow morning? Oh yeah, I'm going into work with you tomorrow morning. I'm like, yeah.
That alarm goes off, and I'm like, I'll see you about 3 today.
I'm like, I'll set this alarm for 5 o'clock instead of 5:30.
I'll see you around 3.
Yeah.
So what was when you opened up the restaurant, what was the most memorable thing for y'all when you opened up your first Jonathon's? What was the most memorable thing for you?
This is easy. I got this one. So the first day we opened, the first person, for me on the food side,
was pretty fun.
the first person that walked in the building, I mean, I remember, you are going through these checklists in your head. I've opened restaurants
before.
before.
Like it? Is everything set?
I've opened restaurants before, but I always had a formula.
What did we miss?
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was like, because I worked for someone else, whether it was Brinker or whatever, I had their checklist. I didn't have my
but you didn't have any skin in the game then. Now you have skin in the game.
That's what I'm saying. So here I am, like I'm going to open this restaurant. I'm going through everything in my head. Did I remember this? What am I? And then I'm also thinking, what am I going to forget? What is it going to be? Hope it's not the pepper. Hope it's not the salt. And so this guy comes in, and the first thing he orders is our breakfast. And he gets over medium eggs, potatoes, pork sausage, and toast. And I was like, okay, cool. So we cook the eggs, put everything on there, toast the bread, potatoes, put everything on the plate, send it out.
Wasn't this the first order that came in?
This was the first order.
Which was exciting.
So yeah, I got like 7 people running this one plate to this guy, right? We're all like, it's the first plate.
We're all just so excited, yeah.
Send it out, and the guy takes it, looks at it, and says, "Y'all need jelly?" And the server's like, "Yeah, jelly, sure."
Give me a minute.
Let me go get it. Walk
John,
back,
they need some jelly.
Comes walk to me like someone just
smallness,
like murdered him, or and they're like, "You got any jelly?" And I was like,
No. Did you forget jelly?
Give me a minute.
So hold on a second. So I run into the walk-in, and like I said, my whole thing was, I didn't really run to the walk-in because it was a cooler right in front of me.
Yeah, right.
There was no walk-in there.
I've always been about fresh things. I don't like to hide from what something is. So I literally grabbed like a package of blueberries, a package of raspberries, and a package of blackberries. Threw them in a Cambro, like a little Cambro with
Sugar.
some honey, and a squirt of lemon. And took my took my burr mixer to it, boom, and poured it in there. I said, there you go, berry jelly. And that is the jelly we've used every day since then. I've never deviated from that. And when people ask for, you got strawberry jelly? Nope. I just tell people it's jam now. It's jam. It's just jam. That's all it is.
That's an awesome. There's another awesome story. Do you ever think to write this stuff down because it's going to be important one year sometime?
I do, and I need to because my memory gets like worse and worse every year. I'm usually I remember a lot of things, I can usually tell you about 80% of the tickets that I made after a service. I'll like when everybody starts talking about stuff, and I'm like, oh.
And he knows what table and what server, and I'm like, and
I can't. It takes
because
me
you use it every day.
table.
It's something you do every day, and it has to be in your mind because that's you look at. You're passionate about what you're doing at your restaurants.
Right. And there's definitely I have a couple ideas for some cookbooks and some different things that I want to do, and so those things I think as we get to this next stage, we're kind of like at a I wouldn't call it a crossroads, but we're getting to a really good point in the life of the business where we're finally, like when we opened it, we said in 10 years, we'd like to start to take ourselves out of the daily operations, right?
Right.
I don't know if I'm going to be completely out of them, but I see the future that I'd like to see is one where I'm more like, I come in and scare people. Like, oh, John's here, and everybody starts wiping everything down. I walk in, or like I have an idea.
Make him stand up a little taller.
And I call him, and I can.
When I say I'm like stand up a little taller.
I can call the chef and say, hey, I got this idea for this dish. This is what I'm thinking. Put this stuff together or have it ready for me. I'm coming in tomorrow to take care of it. Or even where I go in like every morning and do all the baking, and I'm out of there by noon. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't mind waking up. I love waking up early and driving in when there's no traffic and getting.
You know why, don't you? You're passionate. We talked about this earlier.
Yeah, passion. There's that. And I don't like a lot of people on the road too. That's another part of it.
Hey, so what was when did you know? How long did it take you after you opened up your first Jonathon's there, Oak Cliff? When did you know? Okay, when did the sigh of relief come over? You said, okay, we're going to be okay. How long did it take?
I think about a year and a half.
Well, everyone they kept saying, there's landmarks like 6 months is a landmark.
There's no landmark. There's no landmark.
There isn't. No. They say, if you can make it 6 months, you're doing great.
It's
If you can make it a year. And after a year, I think we were kind of like,
when it was like
when it kept going.
I remember when we first opened every Monday, because we made a decision to be closed on Mondays. I didn't want to do that, but like after talking to a lot of family and just Christine and people they were like, look, you're gonna need a day
really
off.
did guide,
like everybody knows me and Christine are workaholics. Like we're gonna always be there when we have to be there. And I think a lot of the people that care about us the most were like, y'all need a day off. And I always tell people, I don't know if I needed the day off as much as the restaurant needed a day off too. Like your restaurant needs a day to dry. That's what I tell people all the time. Like restaurant is always wet. There's always something wrong with it. Like give it a day.
It's a good day to do maintenance.
And
whatever
so,
you need to do.
But it was. I remember every Monday morning for like
we would
the
still
first
go in every Monday.
year
it was
and a
just
half.
not early.
But every Monday morning, remember like waiting for the credit cards to batch. Like
that's
to get our weekend money, and we would just be like. Can I go get gas? You know what I mean? She'd look at the phone. Not yet. You know what I mean?
Haven't bashed yet. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it was like little things like that, and then all of a sudden.
Back then too, it took longer. Now it's pretty quick.
Well,
it does better. Yeah,
it's gotten a little better, but I mean, it's still and the other thing too is we're not waiting for that money anymore because we've made it's there more often.
I venture to say it's roller coaster.
Yeah, I mean, it's always restaurants are always going to be a roller coaster financially. You got to be able to withstand a lot of that stuff, and that's where. Another thing for us that we've always been able to batten up the hatches, and kind of rally the troops because I can go in and work any station in my restaurant. She can still bartend, wait tables, bus tables, work the hostess stand, whatever it takes. We're both fully capable of doing that. So if somebody quits,
I still do.
If something's not right, if we just need to tighten things up, like we've never paid a manager. Yeah. We have lead employees.
You shouldn't.
Well, I mean. That's
until
what
you get to the part where you feel comfortable and
and honestly, we talk about a lot of restaurants open, a lot of restaurants close. One of the reasons restaurants close is because of labor overhead. That's what our biggest challenge is labor.
Labor and management,
It's like labor and management is
heavy.
That's fixed cost. Yeah. Like if you're paying someone $50,000 a year, $52,000 a year,
80.
it's and that's the thing. When I was doing it, my first sous chef job, I got paid $25,000 a year at Sapango's in Dallas. You know what I mean?
It was
like
the late '90s, early 2000s.
Just think of that number now. Like
later.
if I tried to offer someone even $35,000,
they
laugh at me. I can make more than that.
That's what the dishwashers are making nowadays.
Yeah, that's a dishwasher in Plano now.
Yeah.
So
that's funny. So when did you open up Jonathan's Diner?
But
it's been 5 years.
It's like 2 years in, 3 years in.
Yeah. It's funny when the time goes on, you're like, how long has that one been open?
Well, we got a phone call one day, and it was the Food Network, and they had this show at the time called
Food Court Wars.
Yeah, I remember that.
Okay, well, we were asked to be on this show. So we were like,
we did it. It was fun.
We're like, yeah. I mean, why would you turn down like a Food Network, an opportunity to be on Food Network, right? And so we did it, and we were literally out of the restaurant for a week, and that was the first time since we had
opened. We had taken a full day off and
that we had like not been there for a day, and then it was like 5 days that we weren't.
Of course,
there.
they release us from filming, and what do we do?
Yeah, it would be like 2 o'clock in the morning.
How did that go?
It went really well. We learned a lot, and
how'd your restaurant operations go when you're not there?
They did good.
It was still there.
Yeah.
It wasn't gone.
Yeah, that's what we learned.
I was just fixing to say, if you have a good crew and you have a good management, everybody's cross-trained properly, then it's going to run just as fine, sometimes better when you're not there.
They did well.
At that point, we were getting to that phase where we were so busy and we had so many employees that it really did run better when we weren't there, because when we were there, we were just in the way. You know what I mean? It was like, especially that little unit.
Yeah.
So being gone, we kind of got this wild hair, and we were like, maybe we should do something else.
Let's open another restaurant.
And the whole point of that show was to open a second place.
Sure.
So it really got us kind of excited to open another place. And then when that show ended and we went on and we got out of there, and there's where the diner is now, that spot, the owner of that building was one of my regulars at Jonathan's. I would open when we first opened Jonathan's. I would be there. I would go in and open first thing in the morning, and I would wait tables and cook. And I have two people in the kitchen until she got there. Like she would do everything at the house. Like she's always handled the house, and I'll handle the restaurant. Gotcha. And then she finishes at the restaurant, and I go home and sit on the couch.
Okay.
And so truth hurts.
It's reality.
Yeah. So what would happen was I got to know a lot of I'd have a couple guys here, a couple guys there, but I got to meet like some really cool people that like own buildings, and so I got to learn. I picked their brain, and I got to learn kind of how the real estate world works with like renting these properties, and or just like a police officer or the mayor or a councilman, and I got to know a lot of these different people. They would come in the mornings, because we were so close to City Hall, and I was feeding them, and they know they could come in and have a good breakfast and have a good meeting, and then move on their way. And in Oak Cliff, there's a lot of city work that gets done in Oak Cliff, just because it's so close to downtown. There's like the Jefferson Building where all the permits get pulled, and you have all that stuff that you deal with. So there was this spot where the diner is, and the guy that owned that building would come in all the time, and we'd always talk about it. And I wanted that spot before we opened Jonathan's, but the banks are like, it's too big. You can't handle it.
You're fascinated with it, yeah.
So what was it before?
It was called Mama Connie's, and then before that, it was basically
Wayne's Beckley Grill.
Wayne's Beckley Grill.
I passed by it 100 times and never even knew what was there. That's about how much it meant to me.
Well, the challenge for them, and like I said, they opened literally like the same time Jonathan's opened, and it was already open. It took new ownership, and then we opened Jonathan's, and so you had this old guard that was just kind of like someone kind of took it over and was just trying to keep it what it was, and then you had this new kind of interesting concept down the street where you have like the owner that's like in there, and you got like Christine who's welcoming, and so all of a sudden we kind of changed the game out there for people a little bit where we
had
were
a lot
more
more freezer
hands-on.
food. As much as I hate to sit and say it, I mean, if you're gonna go pull a chicken fried steak out of the freezer from Restaurant Depot,
so do you go down the street and buy the
can't do that very much nowadays.
No, you can't get away with it.
But it was also like $6, so know.
Well, still though. So you got that one opened up.
Mm-hmm. And what we did when we opened that one, we had this whole different idea though. I was like on top of the world. I can do anything. So we opened this place called Kessler Park Eating House. And Kessler Park Eating House was like an homage to like my childhood and like a lot of like my roots, like in West Virginia, and my dad had two brothers, and they all married into big Italian families. So when we go to West Virginia, we're Eastern European, and the rest of the family's Italian. So there's a lot of Italian food. Okay. So I was doing like noodles, I was doing Alfredo, pasta, fresh pasta. I was making pierogies that were killer that we were making in house.
What really happened is Everybody wanted
chicken and waffle. Everybody wanted chicken waffles and chicken fried steak, and they wanted the food that we were doing down the street.
Well, you saw that, though. Instead of shutting down, you made the switch.
Well, what happened was Jonathan's actually
was collapsing.
Yeah, one side of the building, and we were actually adding on, too.
Wait. Collapsing is it really collapsing?
Yeah.
Oh,
it was the foundation had fallen about 3 or 4 inches.
3.5 inch variation from the front door to the back door to the center of the building.
Yeah.
The whole building was just
literally.
We put a lot of weight on that house.
The weight capacity of that house it never intended to do the business that we were doing in there.
Not to be packed with,
I've driven by and seen people standing outside.
Oh, yeah.
Very much common occurrence.
Weekends.
And now,
a lot.
Everybody always tells me if you ever want to open another restaurant, just tell whoever you want to invest in you or whoever wants you in their shopping center or whatever, just tell them to drive down Beckley at like 11:30 on a Sunday.
Yeah.
And start. And when you drive past the diner and look at all the people standing out in front waiting, and then go down to right about Zang and look at all the people standing in front of Jonathan's.
Yeah.
And that's all you'll really have to do. And that pretty much says it all right there. So.
Well, how Jonathan's Diner came to be was then after we had to close for about a month. And it took about 6 weeks
so bad. They
to
kept
do some major
Band-Aids on little
repairs.
things, and finally the landlords were like, "We need this building for like a month," and we were like, "Well, we got this other one now, sure."
So we just we somehow managed to get it where people came down there and we didn't lose any business at all. And what we ended up learning was everybody really just wanted Jonathan's down there. So we just never switched it back.
It started out we were going to do Jonathan's during the day, and
so
then
you switched it because you need to switch it.
Because we needed more room.
Okay.
It started out.
There's another good story.
Yeah, well, we were going to do like Jonathan. It started out we were going to do Jonathan's during the day for lunch and dinner and breakfast, like because that food was more geared towards that, and then we would transition over to the diners or to the Kessler Park menu at night. Well, the first day we were so busy. We didn't even switch over. We just did the Jonathan's menu from like 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. And it was just like busy all day. And we were like, what the hell are we doing to ourselves? Like, because I was like working all the time, trying to keep the diner going, like, making all this extra, doing all this stuff. And it was just like, it's getting to be, it was just regulars there, It was like, and regulars are the best thing. But the problem with regulars is sometimes they're the only people there.
Right.
And it's just like, you got to generate income. I mean, that's what this is ultimately about.
How long did you make that switch after? How long did you make a switch after you don't?
Immediately. We never went back to the diner.
No. How long? You said it was Kessler House?
Yeah, Kessler Park Eating House.
For how long?
Maybe a year?
About a year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it made it a good year.
I mean, we did a little over a year. I mean, we were doing fine. It's just we found that this was the right one.
People loved it. It just got to the point where it was like, it became like it just wasn't generating the type of
people wanted
excitement
Jonathan's. We were trying to do a slightly different brunch, and what everyone really wanted was exactly what they were getting down the street.
I think that was when the writing was on the wall, because we did I wrote a brunch menu for that, and I honestly I kind of like that brunch menu better than the one at Jonathan's for me. But it's not always about me, you know what I mean?
It ain't about you, brother.
There are
it's about those customers.
What's selling?
Yeah, no, I mean it is.
Hang on, you touched on a good subject here. This is a very good point. The reason a lot of restaurants fail in today's times is because the chef and the partners think it's about them and about what they like and about what they want, and they don't take the time to figure out it's not about them. It's not about their egos. It's about what the customer wants, what the palates want, because everywhere you go is a different people, different palates, different. And so you've got to figure out what works to stay in business. Yeah. And sometimes they don't, and then they want to shut the doors.
Well, and that's where Jonathan's Diner came from too, because that's what we sat and said. We've listened, we've heard, we hear what you're having to say. You want Jonathan's down here, Jonathan's down the streets on an hour and a half wait. It was only it was the right thing to do. That's what the guests wanted, and that's what we had to give them. So here we are.
Here we are. So we're going to set some of Jonathan's food out here right now.
That's why we have two on the same street, and it makes no sense to most people.
They run the same menu.
They're real small.
It's two of the exact same restaurants.
It's just like having a big restaurant. You're fine.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like having a waiting room.
Just we have two liquor licenses.
It's half a mile long. That's all.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we do all of our large parties out at Jonathan's Diner. And I know sometimes that rubs people the wrong way because they're like, why can't we bring our 15 top here? Well, because there's not room when there's only 46 seats.
Well, you know what's funny? When I first went to Jonathan's Diner a long time ago, and then I did go back, and then I went again when I had the Danger Dogs, which I loved. You know I love them. And then after I got through eating there, I was driving down because I drive and I look. You know, you realize a lot of stuff by driving around looking and walking.
That's my favorite thing to do.
Yeah. And I said, what in the? I drove by and I said, am I deja vu or something here? What the hell? What is? What did I see? So I made a U-turn there on what's that street?
Beckley.
Yeah.
I made a U-turn back and went back, and I drove and I said, I'll be a son of a bitch. So I drove up and looked at the logo to make sure they were the same, saying, and turned back around.
Yeah, it's funny. That's what.
All right, so let's talk about the menu real quick here.
Absolutely.
This is
that's one of our most popular burgers. It's called the Nooner.
That's right. I've had this.
Yeah,
like our brunch burger. Yeah.
And that actually started out as a special, and I ran it one day, and I used to, whenever I run specials, I always post them on Facebook and whatnot, and someone in the media saw it, and they sent their burger guy out, and he ate it.
Observer, actually.
Scott Reed, the observer at the time. And they they just fell in love with it, and it just blew up. But that is a half-pound patty. It's got tomatoes, and then we top it with ham, our pit ham, bacon, provolone cheese, American cheese, an egg, and then mayonnaise. Just all meat and cheese.
Great brunch burger.
Yeah.
It is good for that. It does that for sure.
I had that on my brunch list, I think, like a year ago or something. Yeah, it was really good.
It is good.
So what? And I ate that by accident, just like the Danger Dogs.
Right.
You go someplace with the preconceived notion. Everybody does.
I'm getting this.
Unless you're going for something that that you've had before. But
right.
But I had something I thought I wanted to try, and then that popped up.
That's this dish. This is one of my sleepers right here.
That's one of my
I
favorites.
tell people all the time, this is our migas. And so we make the turkey chorizo in house. So that's one of the things. It's got turkey chorizo, it's egg whites, and it's a really great breakfast. But it's just we take corn tortillas, the chorizo, we saute that together, and then we hit it with the egg whites and scramble in the eggs real hard, like a good migas is. Right. And hit it with cheddar cheese, and then we top it with pico de gallo, and serve it with salsa, some tortillas, some of our potatoes, and that's that's a great just way to start your day meal right there. I eat that probably 3 times a week.
It's really delicious. And your home potatoes are all made there. What
everyone is diced by me or one of my people. I worked at a place that served frozen potatoes, and I hate frozen potatoes. Yeah. It's I call them sponges.
But you can tell.
You can tell.
This is just a huge difference.
Yeah.
But they're very good.
So when I take the potatoes, that's another thing. We dice all of our potatoes, but we fry them. Okay. And then we pull them out of the fryer, and I have this spice blend I call chili spice. And I use it on a lot of things.
I was just fixing to ask you that.
Yeah, it's my kind of a signature spice.
It's your brand.
Yeah, and it's just something I make. I call it Chef John's chili spice. Yeah. And I'll even tell you what it is. It's chili pepper, it's paprika, smoked paprika, cayenne pepper. Yeah, that's about it. And cinnamon.
Cinnamon, okay.
Yeah, and you know, it's different various amounts of each of those things, but that's what it. And I don't put salt or pepper in it because we add all that. So like I have my chili spice, salt, pepper, fresh parsley, and when those potatoes come out of the fryer, they go in a bowl, and we season them all up, toss them around, and we just hold them like that. We just all day we're cooking.
They always have the right amount of crisp on them.
I try.
Yeah, they do good. All right, so here's what we talked about earlier: chicken fried steak. Look at this bad boy.
Yep, that is our chicken
see it
fried
earlier.
steak.
Right. And
it normally comes with eggs too, but I didn't put any eggs on it for you.
That is huge.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And it's got that crunch.
We call it as big as your face. Chicken
Big
fried
as your
steak.
face.
Yeah.
And you ought to call it in your face chicken fried steak.
It started out
It
when we first opened, we would only do chicken fried steak on Thursdays. And I call it Chef John, as big as your face, chicken fried steak. And we serve it with mashed potatoes. Like, because I remember when I was growing up, Thursdays was chicken fried steak day in the cafeteria. Right. So I would always do like a blue plate on Thursdays. And it was so popular. Literally on Thursdays, all I served was chicken fried steak.
Where was that blue plate special that was so popular? That was a term. But
I don't know where. I think it just started like in the old school like cafeteria days.
It was used quite a bit for a while.
Blue plate there was a hot minute there too, like about 5 years ago, where everybody was dropping blue plates. You know what I mean? It was just like it was just an easy kind of homey way to kind of change it up and give. And
I wonder if that came from Kmart's Blue Light Special,
right? But yeah, and so it was so popular that when we did the first menu change, we just put the chicken fried steak and eggs on the menu, and it's been like I probably sell 150 of those out of each store a week easily.
Yeah.
I mean, I just fly through them.
It's a hearty meal, to say the least.
Oh, it's very hearty. And
my bread and butter
waffles.
right here,
chicken
man.
waffles, bread and butter.
Yeah, as my plumber always says, this is what my money smells like.
That's good. That's good because that's what Keith Button Hicks says too. That's one of his big things.
I think we had an employee that quit once, and he said we smelled like gravy.
Yeah.
I was like,
well, I always joke because I have a
okay.
plumber that unclogs my pipes, and I'm like, God, that smells horrible. He's like, that's what money smells like. I said, well, that's your money smells like shit. My money smells like chicken and waffles.
That is right.
So.
Well, when you work when you own a restaurant, your restaurant all the time, you go home, your whole house smells like your clothes. It's hard to get out of
you
there.
don't smell it after a while.
My older brother, when I was a kid, my older brother worked at McDonald's, and I used to always say, I never want to work in a restaurant. I hate the way he smells when he gets home.
Yeah,
everything in my life smells like that now.
Yeah, but I generally wash your clothes really quickly.
Yeah, she's on it, man. She's got the best wash and dryer on the market, and she just.
I'm a laundry queen.
I can't complain about that. She takes care of me.
You know when you go into one of these convenience stores nowadays, you go in a convenience store if you have got really bad grease, you walk in there and you can tell. You walk out of the store and you get in your car and all you do is smell like bad grease for an hour.
Yeah.
Yep. That's any restaurant. Man.
Yeah. Their hoods aren't working properly, which
I've had days where like I'll walk into the restaurant and that oil, like they didn't change it the night before, filter it, and I'm just like, before we do anything, you're cleaning that fryer right now.
You can smell it when you can smell it without having to do that.
And it makes everything taste that way.
Oh, it does.
And so
right away, it's not to me it's not edible. You can.
Well, and that's the thing that separates. Okay, it's the little details in life, right?
Details, right?
That's what makes people like the potatoes. Like I always tell people, like everything I do, I'm always thinking, I want you to think, damn, these are the best potatoes I've ever had with the breakfast. That's my goal every time. You know what I mean? Like I get on my guys all the time. I'm like, whenever you're making a burger and we do a burger setup, like you that's in your hands. Like you pick the lettuce and the tomatoes and the onions that go on that garnish. Like if it's not perfect, that's on you. There's no one else to blame but you. I mean, because you set up that station, you picked that out. Like if you picked up that tomato and it didn't look like the best freaking tomato slice you've ever seen in your life, throw it away. I'd rather throw it away than make someone mad because guess what? If I sell a bad tomato, they won't come. And that's the thing. People either they don't come back.
Right.
But those are the worst. The ones that don't come back because they got a bad tomato on a burger.
Well, they don't come back and then they go to social media and blow social media up on. I'm over a bad tomato.
But even if they don't do that, it doesn't matter. It's more damage for someone to like just come in, not have a stellar experience, and then just not be blown away or not even want to come back. And then they go home, and then when someo's talking about, man, there's this new restaurant I heard about, Jonathan's like, nah, I went there. It's not all that good. And then you know what I mean. And it didn't take a post. It didn't take anything. But that affected a lot of people.
Right.
You know when something's bad, they tell 10. When something's good, they tell 2.
Yeah.
I mean, that's on the average
it's
for
the
restaurants.
Truth.
Well, I love, like, I follow a lot of other chefs. Eric Repair is one that I always follow. And Eric Repair, one thing I learned from him was when he first got in the business, like when Le Bernardin first opened, and he would get if he would get a bad review, he said he would take that bad review and he'd put it on his desk and he'd read it every single day, and just he would read it, and like that's what like drove him, was to like not let people have those experiences. When I opened Jonathon's, I was like a Yelp guy all the time. Every single Yelp review I would read and read and read, and I used to tell people, I'm like, I'm not reading these because I think that every single one is 100% accurate, but it does give me an idea of like trends, what's going on, like how people are feeling about the place. You know what I mean? Like if everybody starts talking about the hostess was rude, and I see that show up in like four or five reviews, then maybe I need to look into that hostess.
Reevaluate situation, yeah.
Or like if something's salty or whatever it is, you know, it's like it just.
You know what John Teacher said about Yelpers, don't you?
Yeah.
He said he said he likes them, but he said Yelpers and gun owners should both get background checks before they're able to do anything.
I always tell people, I really feel like Yelp has kind of gone by the wayside now. Like it's not as big of a deal as it was when we've
not here. It's not.
It's kind of lost some of its luster, and even today, I can't even tell you really the last time I genuinely got on there and reviewed like what's going on.
I think because a lot of people put it on their Twitter or their own personal Twitter or their own personal Facebook, and that's what's important. How has social media changed your business? How's it changed?
We built our business on social media. Like I told you earlier, we don't do advertising. We're not. We don't reach out to people to put us on a list. We don't. Not like I met you because you put me on one of your lists. Yeah. That's how I got to know you. It wasn't because I was like my marketing agency reached out to your people and you know all that stuff. I'm not saying that happens, but you know that happens.
Yeah, I know.
So, and these big press releases for these openings and so forth.
But for us, like throwing like just pictures of my specials on Facebook and just constantly posting.
And now we're getting back to that again.
Food, you know, getting all that stuff on there.
But see, everything y'all do is Instagrammable. I mean, all y'all's photos are always look good. Like, look at that. I mean, that's, you know, if that come out of the kitchen, it was hot. And
that's what it looks like.
Yeah.
I tell people in every picture that you see on my Facebook page or that you see on my Instagram page, somebody ate that after I took that picture.
Yeah.
Every picture I take is in the window. If you look, it's in the window.
Yeah.
It's food that I just made. I put in the window.
That's
and I'm
a good picture.
oh shit, that's a good picture. Boom.
Wait, do you remember? Well, because I take so many pictures of her. I mean, I take
the burger. I called you out on that because I was like, I know that picture.
Oh God, damn, that was funny.
Yeah, we were trying to figure out how to do it tastefully. You
were talking about Maple Leaf Diner.
Yeah,
you were saying this is the burger at Maple Leaf Diner, and I was like, you might want to look at your pictures because
that's my arm. But you did say laugh out loud afterwards.
Yeah, well, because I didn't want to be a dick, but I was like, that's my picture, man.
That was funny. That was really funny. So, all right. So, how often do you change your menu?
Well, this will be the third time since we opened. We don't do it very often.
I'm excited about this one, though.
Yeah, we are really excited about this one because we've kind of taken what we've learned over the last 9 years, what our customers want, what we offer, what we can execute in a really good way. That's another thing. If you can't do it, I always tell people, if we can't do it great, I don't want to do it. Like,
Where do you get your inspiration from for menus?
Just, I think, like, dining out. You're right, like just being like watching industry trends, and then just like I got a brain and a gut that likes things, and so I just kind of.
Well, you run a lot of specials, and what sells well is what ends up on the menu.
Yeah, a lot of times, and the other thing I tell people, like if I have anything in this world, I have this superpower that allows me to taste things before I put them in my mouth. Like I can envision flavors. I don't know why, I just can. Like I know when I'm putting. I know when to stop. Because you've been doing
it a long time. That's why.
Yeah, probably.
You couldn't do that in high school. You can do it now.
Right.
Yeah.
It's progression.
Yeah.
Experience. Passion.
Balls. So
okay, real quick before we run out of time here. Y'all have cocktails too.
Yes,
we
do.
Great Bloody Marys.
Full bar. Bloody Mary bar.
You got a Bloody Mary bar
on the
for
weekends.
brunch.
Saturday and Sunday brunch.
On the weekend, Saturday, Sunday brunch. Okay.
You get one during the week.
We make that Bloody Mary mix in house.
Sure you do. I know you're not going to buy it. I know you're not buying it.
They've tried to sell it to me, but I won't.
Don't do it.
No.
It cheapens your experience, man. Yeah. Okay, so if somebody wants to get what's y'all's website?
Christine.
At jonathansoakcliff.com.
Jonathan, that's pretty damn easy.
It's easy. Both restaurants feed in the same one. So
okay, Jonathan's Oak Cliff. You know what I've gotten to when I've gone to tag y'all some things. Like I've used apostrophe. Sometimes you can't use an apostrophe when I go
because it's just all one word.
Just runs through. Yeah, just like it's spelled right there.
Yeah,
just straight. Well, it's
but that's also too on social media. And for the first time, I was like, "What?" I thought something was wrong. I thought my wasn't working anyway. So
and then we're ONS. A lot of times people want to put an A in there.
Yeah, that's the other thing.
Yeah, I've done that too.
Yeah, we're
not now. I used to in the early days.
Like my cousin used to say Jonathon.
Jonathan. All right, so you're open for brunch Saturday and Sunday. Not just Sunday, Saturday and Sunday. Full bar.
Yep.
Bloody Mary bar.
Yep.
Open for breakfast and lunch 6 days a week.
Yeah, since we have the 2 restaurants, we're open 7 days a week.
Okay.
Right? Monday, Jonathan's Oak Cliff is closed.
Okay.
Tuesdays, Jonathan's Diner is closed.
Got you. So they can get you 7 days a week.
Yeah, and that was the whole point of doing it on Tuesday. Some people are like, what? Why Tuesday?
Those are your
Like,
two slow
'cause-
days. So you.
And what it's done is
Shift it in
now
one direction.
Tuesday is our busiest day at Jonathan's, and
got
Monday's
you.
our busiest day at the diner during the week because
Tricky.
yeah,
No,
Some people call that greed.
works out well.
called hard work and dedication.
That's right. Is the new menu up and is it already changed?
Not yet. It's almost there.
It's almost there. We're
We
about
just
to roll
finished
it
a
out.
cocktail
Yeah, we just
yesterday.
finished all the cocktails and the menu's written and it's done, and now we just have to get it all printed. It's pretty much formatted.
Fine tuning part.
Hey, when you get fine tuned, you gonna call me?
Oh, yeah. Well, it's too late now. It's cat's out of the bag. So
Call me. I'm gonna come over. We're gonna have some fun.
We'll knock it out.
We got
I'm
some
gonna-
new
I'm
things.
I'm gonna bring Jen over. We're gonna have some fun.
I got the kick-ass new
Actually,
burger I'm doing
we gotta
called
do
the
the
Double
brunch
Down.
menu
and
still.
yeah, it's going to be a monster. It's going to
right.
be known.
Brunch menu. We still got to do that one. Haven't done
Yeah,
that
but the
yet.
brunch menu will kind of take care of itself.
I'll see y'all there. Okay, guys, thanks for watching. Catch us at Trey'sChowdown.com. I tell everybody every week, Trey, Trey, not with the A. All the good-looking Treys are born with the E, not the A. And we'll see y'all next week, same time, same food channel. Adios. Thanks for watching. I'm Trey Chapman, publisher of Trey'sChowdown.com. I'm passionate about finding the best food, drinks, and chefs, just sharing it all with you. I should know I have over 5 decades of food experience. Find me on any podcast platform, Facebook Live, or just Google me. Now you can watch and listen to all my great finds every week on my live TV and radio podcast at Trey's Chowdown Live.